It's funny. I had one woman in my comments and she was like, my husband works for UPS. He processes a lot of those.
Yeah.
How do they know it's poop?
I mean, it says Cologuard on the box somewhere, and I also think you've handled one. Like,
Yeah,
they're
you know what it is.
you know what it is.
Not like they have to touch it.
No, you don't have to. But it was funny that she was like, "Oh yeah, he sees a lot of them.
A lot of poop in a box.
A lot of poop in a box."
All right, are we ready?
Welcome to Just for Moms. I'm Charlotte.
I'm Caitlin.
I'm Megan.
And I'm Callie.
We are regular moms
Talking about regular stuff like
Aging, parenthood,
work-life balance,
and figuring out what's for dinner. Again.
A no judgment zone to talk, laugh,
And maybe cry about all the things women think about on a daily basis.
All right, everyone, welcome back to Just for Moms episode 12 with Megan, Charlotte, Caitlin, and Callie. Still every time. Just worried I'm going to throw some random name in there that doesn't belong.
and Jane.
And yeah, Jessica. I don't know why. I have a question. This came up yesterday when I was talking with my 6-year-old because we were talking about the neighbor and I said the neighbor's name, it's just like pretend his name was Ben. And then I said to my son, I was like, but if you were going to talk to him, you would call him Mr. Smith. We'll say Mr. Smith. And I realized that like my kids have not really gotten to the age yet where like we have kids that are like coming over and hanging out. Like I think if any one of their friends have ever talked to me, I'm just like, Miles' mom. So I'm curious, because you guys have some older kids, what do your kids' friends call you? Is like Mrs. Branciforte, is that still what we're doing? Megan, you go first.
So I don't like being called Mrs. Schinella. I feel like that's my mother-in-law. I want to be Megan. Makes me feel old. I was brought up where you do say Mrs. Smith, Mrs. Schinella, but I don't tell my kids to do that. I did a few years ago when we did Catholic school. We went to Catholic school for both my girls for about 3, maybe 4 years. And obviously in the Catholic school, they teach you that. And that's how you speak to everyone. Like we would leave the school every day and then go to the playground and it was always like Mr. and Mrs. and Mr. and Mrs. and so proper. And it was great. But I don't tell my kids to do it. I feel like other moms do it. And I'm like, wow, that's great. I wish maybe I should do it. It's proper. And I'm also, another point I want to make is I'm not good with names. Not only first names do I forget now when I'm getting older, but also last names. So you'll be lucky if I know your name just to be like, Nico, say thanks to Martha, and it's a mom. So
And Martha's mom.
Yeah. That's my take on it.
Yeah. What about you, Charlotte?
We're Mr. and Mrs. When they were little, that we weren't. Like, that's how you can date our friends. So friends that we were friends with almost first, our first name friends. And then when we started having kids, friends that we met since our kids were talking are Mr. and Mrs. We have a handful of friends that are like, do not call me Mr. and Mrs. And so that obviously we're first name with all of them. But the default for us is always Mr. and Mrs. And even for people where I don't know their last name, and maybe this is when I was a counselor, I was Miss Charlotte for a lot of the kids. So even if there's a grown up and I don't know their last name, I will still put a Mr. or a Miss in front of it just as a sign of respect and hierarchy.
What about your kids, Caitlin?
I'm pretty much in the same. Well, I guess I'm split. I feel like a lot of friends that we have, they introduce themselves by their first name to my children, so that's what they call them. And I would add on a Miss or a Miss or Mr. And I got that from living in the South, actually, because everybody was Miss Dawn, Mr. Rob. And when I moved home, I would introduce my kids to even friends that I've had since I was young. This is Miss Tina and this is Miss Melissa. But I feel like we don't have anybody new. Whenever we have someone new coming in, it's Mr. or Mrs. and their last name or so-and-so's mom or dad. And I always tell my children, if you meet someone and it's an adult and you need to refer to them, it's Mr. or Miss. And if you don't know their last name, then it's their first name.
I guess that's a good, that's a good default is to go. Yeah, because my kids have been at a school where the teachers are their first name, but with a Mr. or Mrs. in front. But yeah, I mean, that was like a tricky one because I said to him, I said, well, you would call him Mr. Smith unless he told you, it's okay to call me Ben. I love that I've just made up this imaginary neighbor named Ben Smith. But yeah, I didn't really think about the other part where it's like, what if I didn't even know this adult's last name? But I like that idea of just saying, that's Miss Martha. And then I guess just leave it in that adult's hands to, like, Megan, do you, if your child's friend says Miss Schinella, are you like, no, call me Megan?
Yeah.
You do. Yeah. Okay.
I do.
That's fine. And what do you tell your kids to do? Do you tell them to say Mr. and Mrs. or it just doesn't really come up?
So when it does come up, I do say Mr. and Mrs. if I know the name. Again, sometimes I feel like I don't know what it is now that I'm getting older with all name stuff. Like,
too much to remember.
but yeah, I think it was because the way I was brought up, Mr. and Mrs. or Miss. Like when you go to dance class, it's, Miss Melissa.
All right, let's move on to mom fails, which is a time that we just sort of share, the fails that we're having them all the time. But when we can remember, I think Charlotte, you have one today.
I say it every week, so I'm not going to say it again.
That your children just are smelly. Got it. Caitlin, do you have one this week for us?
I was doing really good. I was inspired by my child not watching TV in the mornings. Callie inspired me, and last week was amazing. And then we just had the time change, and my toddler woke up and wanted to watch TV yesterday morning, and I was like, okay, because she was being kind of mean. And then so today she woke up and wanted to watch TV again, and I was like, okay, because she was being mean again. And so it was like I was making progress. I was watching her play. Like she was just going and doing new things because there was no TV on. So now I just have to hide the remote. She can't turn it on. She figured out how to turn it on too.
Well, I can make you feel better. We talked about devices, I don't know, 2-3 episodes ago. And I fear we've reached the stage with devices where my kids know more about them than I do, because my kids have learned that so all of the devices are shut down and they can't access apps unless they are off of our Wi-Fi. Like if they're if they shut down the Wi-Fi, they can get into some of them somehow. And so that has, like when it's a little too quiet, I know whose room to look at. And lo and behold, not reading on their Kindle or whatever.
Sneaky.
It happens.
Sneaky.
Yeah.
Megan, you got a mom fail for us?
Fail. Yeah. The socks, there's always mismatched socks. And my oldest is into the aloe socks. Do you know how expensive those silly? I don't know. I mean,
what are they?
I buy my socks from Walmart. I could care less. Yeah. But she's got
they have aloe in them? What?
Aloe socks. It's a brand, and they're
a brand.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought the same thing you did, Callie, and I was like,
Sorry.
You need to get off TikTok, Megan. And
No. No, so she's into these aloe socks, and I lost one, and it was like she comes busting in my room at like 11 p.m. Where's my aloe socks? I got to wear them tomorrow. And I'm like, I only found one. I don't know. Give it a few days. Hopefully it'll turn up. Turns out it was like behind the wash, so it was a fail kind of, but it's like the mismatched socks. It's always like a fail, and I don't understand where they go, who has them, why are they not together? It's annoying.
Sounds like someone needs to do better with her socks when she puts them into the laundry, and her being your child.
You're right. And you know
Get her one of those little mesh bags.
You know what I said to her? Because I've been around you so much and I love it. Do your own laundry.
Would she say back?
I don't have time.
Oh.
Yes, you do.
Say then you have no clean socks.
Yeah.
That's a you problem, babe. Yeah.
Not my problem.
Yeah, no, you're really brushing off on me, Charlotte, because I say it all the time now for the past month. Anyone who complains, bitches, about laundry, I'm like, do your own laundry, leave me alone, and then it gets quiet because they don't want to do it. So just if it's not done to your standards in your time, it's coming. Just give it a few days.
I invite you to explore the laundry room on your own, dear child.
Yeah.
It's fun in there.
I like it.
All right, I have a mom fail before we move on. I have one of my children is their love language is physical touch. Just loves to be touching, stroking, all just so much. And I am not that person. I get very physically touched out, which already is happening because I have 4 children, age 6 and under. I'm always touched all the time. And I try to hold it together. I love that this child why would I ever dampen that wanting to love on somebody? but like sometimes it makes like I get very touched out by it. It's just not my thing. I don't even like massages. Like I don't like to really be touched anyways. So I feel, I feel like a lot of my mom fails are just like things I'm feeling guilty about. But I do feel guilty about this child that am in it, like literally. Sometimes I'm like, can you ask me that while not touching me?
Yes. Yeah. I think I know who it is. I know we have a rule where we don't want to always mention names.
Yes.
But I think I know who it is.
Yeah, giving this child privacy. But
yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, if we don't have any more mom fails, we're going to move into the topic today. And we're talking about keeping our kids entertained at home. And essentially, I feel like a lot of it just like kind of becomes this like one more thing that we have to do. But I did do a little research. I wanted to find some stats because I always think it's interesting when we like start off our topics with some like interesting research or whatever. And the one that I found was really interesting was they said that parents today, so this was like in 2012, like it was the most recent, spend almost double the amount of time as parents in 1965 caring for their children. So this one's just activities, but it was like the amount of time that we actually spend in the care tasks of children.
Which is crazy because we're all so guilty. We're like, we're not with our kids enough.
Yes, exactly. And so I was like, well, why is this? And also like a lot of us are working when a lot of moms were not working back then. And the number one reason I could find was mostly just like societal pressure, basically, is like that we feel like we need to be with our children more, whether it's that we're on social media and we see parents doing all of these like fun activities and going out. And so we feel like we have to be doing this. And then I found this term that I had never heard of. I don't know if you guys have. Have you ever heard of intensive parenting? No, apparently, so I'm going to read it. It says it's a modern parenting ideology that emphasizes high levels of involvement in structured enrichment activities for children, characterized by the belief that parents should actively shape their child's development through constant supervision, scheduled educational and extracurricular activities, and deep emotional support.
No, what is that bullshit when they're babies and you're all sorry if you do this, I support you in your choices. Yes. What is it when you never leave your child? What is that called?
It's like an attachment theory. Yeah.
Sorry. If you do this, I guess I lost a listener for us. I'm sorry, guys. But
no. Yeah. Well, like you said, if that's how they want to do it, it's not how you chose to do it. But I just thought that was really, I mean, when I read about it, I was like, I don't feel like I don't know anyone like this. But then as I thought about it, I'm like, I do know the parents that feel the pressure, even if they're not doing this, that they feel the pressure of like, well, I need to put my child in dance and in gymnastics, and we need to be making an activity because it's National Toast Day, so we have to make toast. And I do think that it is like this societal pressure. And I do think that's maybe why the stress of activities with kids becomes more of a stress as opposed to just like doing activities in our day-to-day life. But I don't know. I just found that one really interesting. But I'm going to throw it back at you guys. I'll pick one of you guys to start. Charlotte, if you want to start with just like, I don't know, what you think about that and then how it obviously was different than how you handle activities with your kids.
Yeah. Listen, I don't know if this is just my background having been in a classroom or if it's that I grew up with these old school parents. I really firmly, truly, with every fiber of my being, think that it's very important for children to learn autonomy and independence and how to entertain themselves. That doesn't mean that I don't play with them, but I am not their best friend. I am not their playmate. That is something for them to learn to do. I happen to have a number of children, so that I may be naive in, they do have people to play with. And I certainly set them up for success. So I tried to create opportunities and buy toys, and I did teach them the art of play and independence, and I would think aloud and I tried to model it. But I just think that every time we swoop in to do things on behalf of our children, and that includes like very structured adult-centered play, we are depriving them of not only the opportunity to learn how to do something for themselves, but we are also depriving them of the pride and the fun and the satisfaction and the joy of just stumbling into something that you love. And that's sort of where I come down with, every time I feel like a grown-up is overstepping, that's where it is for me, is that child has now been deprived of an opportunity to learn and overcome and feel pride. And that is a bummer to me. So that's how I feel.
Caitlin?
I mean, I have the same sentiments as Charlotte. I think that when I had my firstborn, she was like 2, she was close to 3 when I had my second. and she had been in daycare and I was suddenly home with a second one. I felt like I had to do things with her more. And she wanted to play with her baby sister who was a blob on the floor. There was nothing she could do. So I would maybe do some arts and crafts and things like that, but nothing over the top. And we would go out and play with friends, but I really just wanted her to learn how to play by herself so I could do something other than just sit and stare at her and her sister. And I wanted to be able to go in the kitchen or run to the bathroom. And I kind of forced them to play together. I think I would, just set them down and be like, you do your own thing. And what I've seen over the years, and they're 8 and 11 now, is just the incredible stuff that they come up with, like just insane. I will share a picture of this. They made a plane out of boxes once. I didn't do anything. I just said, here are some boxes and go. And this is when they were probably, I don't know, maybe like 5 and 8 or something. But what I've learned is now I have a third, and she's 5 years and 8 years younger than her sisters. She just wants to be around me all the time, which is fine, but she wants me to play with her all the time. And I feel bad because I don't want to play with her all the time because I want her to play by herself. I want to see her take little figurines and put them in a house. I want to see what she can come up with on her own. And I do feel a little bit of pressure from social media when I see other people doing things with their little toddlers all the time. And I do know some moms who are those moms that make toast on National Toast Day, and kudos to them, but I don't want her to rely on me for coming up with things that her own brain should, if that makes sense. I want her to use her imagination, be creative, figure things out for herself. If something doesn't fit, if she can't get a little diaper on her dolly, then just try it out yourself. It doesn't have to be perfect. And, find out there's a cause and effect, all in safe, space. But I don't want to play all day long. I've never been the parent that plays. My husband plays. He plays games, he plays sports, and I'll just watch them from afar.
Megan, I see you nodding your
Yeah.
head. in
So
agreement.
I feel like I play. I don't have patience to play a long time, but I attempt it through the years and 3 children. Now, with Nico being my last, I definitely feel like I play more than with him that I've played with the girls, just because I have maybe that feeling like, he's my baby, he's my last. I'll go in the yard. Like yesterday, we went and played horse. We read books, but I don't feel like I probably play enough with them. Board games. Again, I feel like it's probably my patience, but I feel like kids need to learn to play also on their own and do things in the house. Like, for example, my middle daughter, Gianna, she's 12. She is into making beads, and she had me order, and I consider this playing, even though it's being creative. It's creative play. It puts like holes into like shells, and she makes jewelry out of it. So she was making necklaces and then anklets and all these things. And because it's winter time, we're transitioning to spring, I feel like there's only so many things you can play with. But she's taken it upon herself where it's like, hey mom, can you order this for me? Like she did see it on social media, and I will sit there and try to play and do one with her. I'll probably only do one in my attention span. So again, I play to a certain extent, time period, and then I feel like dad does more playing probably with the sports, like you, Caitlin. So that's kind of how it is. I just, same with reading. Like Nico, can we read a chapter? Sure, I'll read like 1 or 2, and then I'm like, okay, put the bookmark in. Like I somewhat, and like I do enjoy reading with him, but it's now I gotta like fold laundry and clean the house, so it's like, you get that guilt of there's things that have to be done in the house, but then you need to play too as a society. Like we were saying, the stress of moms playing. So it's like I'm all over the place.
But when did that happen? Kallie, did you see
the pressure?
that? Well, no, but when you were reading all of these statistics, do they have a timeline of when the shift happened? Because we've talked about this before, I feel like in one other episode. I think we were saying when we were younger, we don't remember our parents really being very much into what we were doing. There has to be a reason for this shift, and it's not social media. I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure I think it started certainly before social media. I know a lot of what I read, it did talk about the generation that was, so our parents' generations, like the late 80s into the 90s, was when parents started to structure their kids' times a little bit more. I know one book, like I was just talking to Caitlin about it, the book that I like always tell people to read is Last Child in the Woods. And that was, he talks about that was a big shift in the 90s because parents started to get a lot more fearful because there was all this stuff on the news of just sending their kids out into the nature to play. And so they started bringing their kids in a little bit more. It became the time when there were TVs, even though there wasn't nearly as many screens, but it was a safe place that you could put your kid in front of the TV and know that they were safe. And so I do think that was the initial shift. And then I do think that social media, I bet if you looked at a graph, it sort of would do this. Because obviously I think that the societal piece came in more once we got social media. And yeah, we see these people and they're making these cute sensory bins for every holiday. And you're like, oh my God, I haven't done one of those in 1,000 years. And for me, now that I have 4 kids, I feel like sometimes I'm comparing myself as a mom of 4 to the mom that I was when I only had 2. And when I had 2, I did more of those things. I feel like that's where it came in. But I am very much, we're very unstructured. Like I don't even, like my kids are not signed up for, we do swim because I feel like it's a safety thing, but I just want my kids, I feel like growing up, my parents did a very good job letting me have a lot of unstructured time. And I did have a decent amount of freedom to like go into the art cabinet and like make a mess. And, I had that sort of freedom. My parents allowed me that creative freedom where I feel like maybe some parents were a lot more strict. Like you can't make a mess and you can't do that stuff. And I very much remember that as part of my childhood. And I think that it's a very important part of childhood. I think that kids need a lot of unstructured time. I think that kids need to be bored. I think that's where creativity comes from. So for me, whenever I do kind of feel guilty about it, I'm like, no. Like there is a lot of good things that are happening from them just like going outside and figuring it out or like go into the playroom. I mean, not to say that I don't ever play with them because I do. And especially younger children, my 1-year-old or when my 4-year-old was only 3, sometimes I do have to sit down. Sometimes I need to get the play started, I find, because a younger child is not going to understand to just go in a playroom and be like, this is the toy that I want to play with. And now I'm going to sit over here. So sometimes I look at myself sometimes more as like a guide than a playmate. I'll get the toy down and I'll get the toy started. I'll get the play started and then I can sort of back away. But that doesn't mean that I'm not immune to feeling bad about it sometimes or feeling like I'm not doing enough because I scroll and I see some cute little thing on social media or whatever.
Well, it's also just the fundamental difference between structured and unstructured play. Those are different muscles, and I think they take up a different amount of time. I remember when I went from, different types of schools, I worked at one school, and it was very, like, every minute of the day was, the kids had to do something, and there wasn't any choice time, and there wasn't any, like, free period. And as a result, the behavior and the ability for those kids to sort of manage their own behaviors independently, recess and lunch were off the rails because these kids hadn't learned how to sort of regulate and be independent and sort of have that time. And so for me, they serve kind of different purposes. Like structured play, to your point, Callie, is a great chance to sort of prime the pot and model what play looks like and do, have like quality time and connect with our kids and all of that.
Right.
But it's leading to the holy grail of unstructured play where the kids do have the muscles. I mean, it's not just something they're bored with. They do have to be taught how to problem solve and think creatively and look out into the woods behind the house and go, oh my gosh, there's 20 things I could do back there. That's just learning how to think that way. And that does take some supervision and instruction.
Yeah, I do think that a lot of it too is we sort of think our kids, like we're like our kids should be able to have unstructured play and they should be able to play independently. Like they should be able to just go into the backyard and play. Like why aren't they just like every once in a while when our kids are sort of like hanging all over us, Michael's like, why don't they just like go into the playroom and play? Like they have toys. But I do, they need to be sort of shown that.
Yes.
They do. I think a lot of play needs to be modeled. I think especially a lot of if they're playing with like an actual toy, like they need it needs to be shown. Like a lot of kids' toys are not just like these open-ended things, you know, they need to be kind of shown how to use it. And
Right.
so I do think it becomes this sort of balancing act, as everything is in parenthood, right? This balancing act of being in there enough that you're sort of showing that, and then like stepping back when it's time to
Yeah.
let it happen.
I also think another aspect of this that, back to the balance is if a child is only accustomed to structured play, then they're sort of they're accustomed to the boundaries and the quote unquote rules that come with that structured play. And then it can be really scary and disconcerting to all of a sudden be like, go do whatever. So I think as parents, whether this has always been your philosophy or whether you're sort of trying to be better about unstructured play, I think we have to have a gut check moment when it's like, this is not going to be pretty. Like things might get broken, there might be fights, there's going to be mistakes. Like in order to learn how to do anything, mistakes are going to be made. And so I think that is hard for children too. Like they can't do their best creative, unstructured, imaginative play if they're also worried about like getting their shirt messy. Like we've got to recognize that we've got to pick and choose sort of our battles, and it's going to get messy in many ways, figuratively and literally.
You reminded me saying, I think Callie was saying, you kind of have to model how to play with something. So what I've noticed is that my toddler, a lot of things she does is kind of copying, she's mimicking what her sisters have done or what I have done. And, we have this little bluey house and I've showed her how to set it up. And this is where I struggle because I do want to back off, but she doesn't want me to, so it was a win for me the first time I saw her pull it out and play with it on her own. But last week, Eiley, my middle child, has had these My Little Ponies, like these beautiful ponies hidden up in her bedroom because she didn't want Arbor to touch them. And I guess she doesn't care about them anymore. So she put them in the playroom. And I lined them all up and I said, Arbor, now you can go play with the ponies. And she's looking at me like, what am I supposed to do with these ponies? So I showed her what we could do with them. And, I'm like, you can even put them in the dollhouse. Look, they can lay in the bed. And so now she'll play with them. But it was just so funny because I'm like, how does she not know how to play with a pony? And I'm like, well, because she's never seen them because her sister had them hidden away. It's even like playing outside. I think I taught my kids it was okay to make mud pies. I showed them, we have, like, here, we're going to make mud pies and we're going to put all this stuff in a bucket and we're going to do whatever. And I don't care if you get dirty. And that was it, then they want to go outside and play. But before that, we've moved so many times. And there was a period we were living with my parents that wasn't really a play we were going to do at my parents' house, where you're going to go in the backyard and dig a hole in your grandfather's nice lawn. I don't care if you do that in our backyard now, but they never had that opportunity. So that's something I had to model as well. And I feel like you don't really think through those things as a parent for your first child, or even for your third, 5 years later, that you might have to show them what to do. But I do wonder, and I'm bringing the shift up again, if there were so many stay-at-home moms for us, for our generation, my mom was not one of them, to now those moms, like Charlotte, I know you said your mother stayed home. What did she do while you played? Do you remember?
Nothing.
Yeah. And now you're kind of expected, if you're home with your child, well, you should be doing an activity. And, have you somebody was like, what kind of preschool activities are you doing with her? I was like, nothing. I mean, I might do it subconsciously though, because that's the teacher in me. I might start playing school with her, but I'm not. I didn't think that was my purpose here.
Yeah.
But I also think it depends on personalities too. Like thinking to your dynamic with Arbor, she's essentially growing up a little bit with that only child dynamic because everyone's at school every day. And so she's used to looking to you for everything. And she knows that you have the bandwidth. So she's seeing these ponies and she's like, okay, mom said go play with them. There's a right answer. So I'm going to look to mom to be that right answer. And so I think sometimes kids also need a nudge to be like, no, there's not an answer to this. Like, playing with these ponies could be like, go and take a bath with them, sort them by color, see if you can stack them all up. Like, I'm not looking for the one way to play. And I think sometimes kids if they're more deferential or a little less secure, then they are going to look to the grown up or the big kids and be like, how do I do this? And so I think part of it is unwinding that to get to the place of, what do you think? Like, what would be fun to do with these? And that's the answer when you have to be ready for, like, I'm going to cut all their tails. It's like, okay, like, am I comfortable with that? Maybe. Like, that's when it gets sort of messy.
Yeah. I feel like, based on my experience with all three, we definitely all get the I'm bored, right? And it's like, I feel like I have to set the activity up even now for all of their ages and be like, okay, here's what you can do. Now figure it out. And even I remember Nico a few years ago, we got him like the Hot Wheel car spinner thing, right? And one day he was like, I'm bored. So I taught him how to use it, and I probably had some chores to do. And I noticed him playing and also like making, they're so cute when they make voices and sounds and have them talk to each other. But if I got too close to him,
Yeah.
it was like, Ma, go away. So I would have to be in the other room. And I just thought it was so cute. And anytime like the girls would come home or whatever, he wouldn't do it because he was like embarrassed. But they need to do that, because I remember doing that as a kid, like making different names for them. And I feel like I'm looking at the Hot Wheels thing over here. We've outgrown it. I don't think he's touched it in a year, but I do remember for a solid year, he would spin them and they would have names. And another thing in our house too is I feel like we play somewhat outside of the house, if it's to go to the park or a jump gym or a pottery studio. I feel like that still is playing, even though it's outside of the house. Maybe some won't consider it,
it's structured.
It's different. It's
it's a structured play.
I feel like we have all different, like this, like you were saying, Caitlin, like, what activities are you doing at home? I'm not a teacher. I don't have teacher experience. That's for when they go to school. I feel like I'll try to, Nico will come home and show interest in, adding and subtracting. So I'll go and print printouts to act like a teacher, but I don't know, I just feel like anything sometimes to get them off their screens. Or on YouTube, one of my kids they were into drawing, and it goes step by step of how to draw things. So I felt like I remember going through that with a few of them too. So I feel like, again, sometimes, I know you just kind of had to sit there, show them, and then step back.
Yeah. And I think sometimes, especially when they're really little, sometimes the hardest is like, once they are actively engaged, like, just don't get in there. Don't tell them they're doing great. Don't be like, I love what you built. Like, you just are invisible in that situation, because you'll break their concentration. And then you're going to lose what you had. I want to move on to, I have like a round robin question I want to ask you guys, but I want to share one little hack I do, especially when you have the littler ones that are like, I want you to play with me. I forget where I heard this from, but there was somebody once who was like, I actively make sure that my children see me doing stuff around the house. Like, they watch me cook and clean and do stuff like that. I'm not constantly their entertainment. I'm not like the cruise director here. And so I just have always taken that to heart. And so something I'll lots of times do, and my kids are asking me to play, is I'll say, I will come play with you, but I have to do this first. I need to make our breakfast so that we have something to eat, or I need to do our laundry so we have clean clothes, or whatever. I'll sort of tell them that. And then sometimes they don't end up needing me, because I've given them this chance to go and find something without me. And if they don't, then I come. But I feel like it's a good, it's a good sort of middle ground of them seeing that I'm not always going to be the one there to play with them constantly, and see that, I have other stuff that I have to do around the house.
Yes, I'll often encourage my kids to go ask their siblings first also.
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay. So I want to do a little quick round robin. 2 questions that have to do with activities at home. And we are starting something new on the podcast where we're going to occasionally bring in special guests that maybe have like expert information, is not the word, knowledge in the field. So we're also going to be hearing answers from Abby on this. Abby is a mom of 4. She's been an occupational therapist for 9 years. She worked in pediatrics and adult outpatient, and she's known as Gal Practical on Instagram. If you don't follow her, you should, because she shares a bunch of really fun kid activities, practical mom tips. I think she's just like she's like a down-to-earth fun person to follow on Instagram. And so I thought it'd be fun to bring her in, because she just, I feel like, always has really good like kid activities. So the first question, we'll start with Abby's answers, and then we'll do your guys' answers. The question is, your kids are bouncing off the walls. nothing is working. Everyone is going crazy. Nobody's making good choices. What's like a go-to activity that you'll use, like something low prep that you can grab really fast?
I feel like this question is like, it's loaded because low prep of what it used to look like for me with like 1 kid versus 4 kids is like so different. And I'm like, when I hear low prep, I am like, I need low prep, right? Like
Yes.
I can do it in under 5 minutes. I can throw it together pretty much anywhere. I don't need to spend money or more time. So I feel like for me, there's 2 things that I always rely on. And one, that's music. I like turn on, I mean, this is every day, Callie, right? Because it's just like my kids are
Every day.
always not listening, always bouncing off the walls. So we turn on, the floor is lava or the freeze dance songs, or lately it's twinkle, twinkle, little fart, right? And like my kids, like they just, we dance and we try to like distract away from what's happening, right? But then there's days where I'm like, I cannot stand one more sound in my house, right? And so I feel like the one I always turn to is movement. And I know lots of parents know, like, move your bodies, kids need to move their bodies, but I'm an occupational therapist by trade. And so I study movement and like all these signs of kids fighting and irritability, it's like their body's dysregulated. So how can I bring them back home? And if I just say to my kids, go outside and play, then now I just become a referee outside. And now there's flies in my house and I'm even more mad because everyone's still fighting. So I do purposeful movement. And I think my biggest activity is an obstacle course because it's something I can do anywhere, anytime. And I think social media has led us to believe that we need the balance beams and the stepping stones and the nugget couches. And those are great, but like you can do an obstacle course with paper plates and some couch pillows, and they run up and down the stairs, they jump over the pillows, they do 10 jumping jacks. And, by that point, they're distracted away from why they were fighting, right?
Yeah.
So that's the one we do. We do those inside. We do those outside. My kids jump on the trampoline and run sprints and make baskets. And
Yes.
I think the most underrated tool as a parent is a stopwatch. That is like, my kids love their stopwatches. So when we do these obstacle courses, they are like timing each other, and it's this competition with each other, sometimes with themselves, but it removes my phone too. So
Yeah.
phone is a stopwatch, but now they can control the situation. And it's like,
I love that one. So I'm going to ask Caitlin.
Scavenger hunt, whether it's inside the house or outside the house. And I don't have a ready worksheet or something, but I might just make a list, and it could be based on color, or I don't know, find me something that you could cook with. And even better if it's nice outside, because outdoor scavenger hunts, I feel safe with them all around the yard. I might just get out, step out of the house and stop talking to each other. And that usually works.
I love that one. Megan?
We play bingo a lot in this house. It's a good game for all different ages, 8 to 14 and 42. So we're big bingo players. I'm not sure why, but it's just a fun game. And sometimes I make up the prizes too. I'll show I'll put like candy and like fruit snacks or something together to make the winner feel special, and maybe I'll win.
Charlotte?
I probably have a few offers that I will make if I'm really desperate. Thankfully, those days of true desperation are a little behind me, so apologies to those of you that are in it. A board game is something that can sometimes change the mood. I'm usually pretty comfortable with any sort of craft, so it's like, do you want to go to the craft closet and do paint, watercolor? Cooking is another thing I'm pretty comfortable letting them do, so they'll go and look through cookbooks or their Kindle and find something to make. And then the last thing that was always sort of fun is homemade Play-Doh. We usually have that on hand, and I typically just hate Play-Doh because it's just everywhere, but homemade Play-Doh, there's like a whole process that is sort of fun and magical for them.
I love that one.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of mine are similar. For me, I feel like sometimes we need like an actual like reset, like when my kids are really hyped up, and then they're hyping each other up. So one I use is like, we'll do a dance party break, like before we move to something else, like just something to like try to turn off the just like not listening at all that's happening. If it's later in the afternoon and I'm fine sort of like shutting down for the day, we will like take showers and get in our pajamas. And I'll be like, we're going to have a cozy dinner night. So like that one usually will work for us too. If we kind of like, I need to shift the energy that's happening. Okay, second question, and this might overlap a little bit, but your other one. So if you don't have an answer, that's fine. But the next one is, what is a creative way that you've kept your kids entertained, or you sometimes keep your kids entertained, that you think some parents don't utilize enough? So like one that's out, like for me, Caitlin, I feel like the scavenger hunt one is good because you can get so creative with that. You can do a scavenger hunt walk. I've done Post-it note ones where like I'll just like capital A and lowercase a, and then you just like shove them around the house. And scavenger hunts also, you could just, I feel like it's Christmas and you have a bunch of mini candy canes, like just go throw them around. And then I love it because then I feel like the kids can sort of recreate it. I just feel like that one has never failed me in the past.
I can go off of the scavenger hunt one. We kind of just made this up recently, actually, and you can either do it yourself or the older girls ended up taking over and do it. But we made like a treasure map of the house, and I hid something, and they had to draw the map first of these important parts of the house, and then they had to go on this adventure to find it. But I did it with Arbor, just she and I did it, and it was a silly little one in the playroom, and we, like went over a chair and, around the kitchen counter and just different things like that, and ended up finding something. And it took time to make the little map and go on the adventure, and it was fun and used our imagination. And I feel like someone might not think that you could do that. I mean, you could do it anywhere. You could do it outside.
One that comes to mind, and I don't think it's really creative, but we do a lot of tic-tac-toe in the driveway, at the dinner table when we go out to restaurants. And again, it's all different ages and everyone can play it, as simple as it is, again.
Sometimes that's what it is, like the simplest ones.
And everyone's, or hangman too. I feel like hangman's, like, we grew up with all these, and I love that I teach my kids to play them. And again, when just recently, you can do it at home or at a restaurant, when they're like, I want to be on my phone, can I have my phone I ordered? No, I get out I keep in my purse paper and a pencil, and we do a lot of tic-tac-toe and hangman because I feel like it gets everyone to talk, because we're not going to be on our phones.
I have a few that are structured versus unstructured. So unstructured, if I just want to let them go, getting them to wash the car if the weather is warm, they could do that for hours. I have a mixture for giant bubbles that is sort of fun. And so if you have the right tools on hand, they can spend a lot of time with giant bubbles. And
I share that with everyone.
Please
and
do.
then like making a fort, or like floor is lava, basically trashing the house is always fun.
Yeah.
And then the two things that I will do if I know that I need to like kill time over I'm thinking like COVID, we would do this. So Family Olympics is always fun. And it's usually a combo of like minute to win it games. And it's pretty easy to set up, but they just like the pageantry of it all. And then once a year, I take my kids and we do an ice cream day. And that's very much like parent driven. But the fun of it is you just find 3 or 4 ice cream places. We just go all around Connecticut. And then you find like a park or a playscape or a hike somewhere near each of them. And it's just an easy, like low pressure way to get out with the family. So that's not exactly what you're asking, but those are, if I know I have to kill a day or so, those are 2 go-tos.
You just made me think of one, because you said during COVID, this is something that we did. We made up theme nights for dinner. And so we would have like a fancy night and we all got dressed up, and then we had a pajama night. And so you could do different themed meals. You could let your kids make a menu. To branch off that, my kids like to play restaurant. If I'm cooking for them, one of them will make a menu and the other one's the waitress, and they do this whole thing together. And I really like that.
I love it. All right, good. So we left everyone with some good ideas for next time you're stuck and you need something.
Yeah, hopefully.
when you're trying to find that balance between structured and unstructured. Okay, so time to move into pits and peaks, how we always end this episode, just sharing something good or something bad this week. I will start. I guess it was mostly a pit. My 1-year-old took a tumble at the playground, and I don't know how he went from just the ground to the first step. But like when you see blood and you're like, oh, we're bleeding. And then you get closer and you realize that like it's more than a Band-Aid situation. So like I had all 4. Luckily, Michael was with me, so I had an extra pair of hands. We were at the playground that you have to walk to from our house. So we got him home and we took him to the I'm one of those people like, I don't want to go to the doctor unless we have to, but I was like, we need to go to the doctor for this. And they're like, yes, it needs to be closed up. But there was a little bit of a peak because this child was the most chill child to ever have to take for any sort of situation. He didn't flinch. He didn't cry. The guy's like, it's going to burn. He's probably going to cry when they end up using the glue when we glue it. No, I don't, just stone faced the whole time. Who wants to go next?
I have a peek. It's a silly one. And by now they'll be bloomed. My bulbs are coming up, guys.
Oh, I love that.
Me too. It's so close.
I have a peek. It goes off of my mom fail in the beginning with Arbor not watching TV. So I told myself that, back it up. I couldn't fall asleep at night and I was taking melatonin. And then I was waking up with these night sweats and I thought it was my hormones, whatever. Turns out it's probably a mix of my hormones and the melatonin. It can make some people have night sweats. So I'm usually wound up at night. So I said, something has to change. Even if I'm reading, I can't fall asleep. I don't know what's happening. Well, I kicked out the melatonin. I stopped watching any kind of screen, which I used to bring my laptop to bed with me. I cut that out. It's been 2 weeks now. And I either just go up with a book or just nothing, and I'm falling asleep and I'm not having night sweats.
Oh, awesome.
So I'm
God, just raw dogging your bedtime.
yeah.
Have you heard about those people that go on flights, like 8-hour flights with nothing? They just sit there.
Oh gosh.
My mother-in-law.
That's not me.
My mother-in-law doesn't have a book, turns her phone off. I go, what do you do?
Just sits there?
Yeah. She goes, I just sit.
Oh,
Oh, it sounds awful.
no.
That sounds kind of nice.
Callie.
I drive in the car with nothing, so
I know.
I get it.
Same. Yeah, same. Okay, I
Things
have a
want
pit.
that.
I bought the mouth tape. Okay. It's not working for me. I'm gonna.
What's it supposed to
It
do?
looks too small.
It has this little, okay. But the other part is like, I don't talk a lot at night before I go to bed with Joe, but it's like, okay, can I put it on now? Should I not put it? You know what I'm saying? So I've been trying it because I feel like anything to get a good night's sleep. So I just wanted to say it's a pit right now. I don't get the hype. I had to try it. Maybe it'll turn into a peak. Everyone says to give it a little, but yeah, the hole is very small.
Is it supposed to help you sleep? Like
Yes.
the only time I ever heard about it is my mom who had sleep apnea. Oh, so just even if you you don't sleep, it's supposed to keep you.
It's supposed to help you sleep better. Yep. And now I will throw this out
It would
there.
wake me up.
I sleep with a night guard and a retainer, one up, one down here. Whatever it is, what it is, because I grind and this, and I'm not really liking it. But I've been reading the reviews and people
They're full of crap.
So I don't know. Some people swear by it. They're like, I saw one. She like wakes up and she's like, "Oh, I had the best night's sleep again thanks to my mouth tape."
Wait, are those people also the ones selling the mouth tape?
Probably, yeah.
Or can we just say placebo effect?
Yeah, maybe. Anyways, you know me. I'll try anything and everything. I just like to try all these things. But yeah.
Well, send us a picture next time you go to bed with
Please
us.
do.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
We wanna-
And it hurts when you pull it off in the morning too. That's
Ooh,
another
God.
bit.
This sounds terrible.
Yeah, it does.
And it looks like a torture device. I don't like that thing. If I woke up and you were laying next to me with that on your face,
Jump scare.
Yeah.
All right.
Like a
It's
mustache.
time. It's time to end. I feel like why don't they make it with like patterns? What if they make it
Right.
cute?
They
I know
do.
there's
They have
pink
one that
ones.
looks like a lip. Like
Yeah,
a
there's
mouth.
pink ones. I bought like the most recent
Medical
one.
grade.
Yeah, whatever. Figure they're
It's
all
not
the
real.
same.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. We have to stop. We have to stop now. This is a good spot, I feel like, to ask people to leave us a review, because if you didn't like that, what would you like?
5 stars.
You know, what would you like?
Go
And
get
follow
your
us on,
tape, guys.
get your tape, and then leave us a review before the tape, because you're not gonna like the
Yeah,
tape.
because you're not gonna be able to if you want to leave us like a verbal. Otherwise, just put the tape on and do 5 stars.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.